prepared for them.
Okay, my lord, that's why we prepare. So I know you're prepared. If you have the information, even without the slides, but well, we'll wait, if you will, until HaCohane gets back on board.
Oh, yeah.
But if you, in the meantime, if you wanted to just give some preliminary, well,
Sure,
he's coming back in.
Well,
Okay.
what we're doing is we're talking about the areas of communications that we can depend on and that can be considered as preparation tools for utilizing on a daily basis, no matter where you are. If you're in a rough condition as far as living, or if you're in an area where there's order and peace to what you're doing, you can still have communications. So it's so important to have it that you can control, where it's under your jurisdiction, where you can actually implement these items and different ways of speaking and talking to one another globally. So we're talking about an area that's not only is it needed, but it's necessary for a backup to others that may exist or storms may go down, and be prepared to utilize those skills in going other places to assist others that may need help with their communication systems after a storm, or who just want to prepare their communications to have in case there's a need for an alternative. So this is an operations mode, and we're talking about a coming institute where these kind of courses can be taught. This kind of course can be retaught to the children, and we can develop teachers, and we can develop our own communication systems very easily. So this is something to be much aware of, much aware of. These tools that we're talking about are not difficult tools. At the same time, there's other things happening simultaneously in whatever city, state, or country you go to. There's some type of existing communication system. And you want to understand that one, as well as how to implement your own simultaneously. So this is something to consider, think about, and to be prepared for, because after all, your system might be the only one day, even if it's for an hour or for a week. We have to have something to stay in contact with our families. We have to have something to stay in contact with what's occurring around us. So it's so vital that we look at the importance of communication technology. And believe me, your children will pick this up very quickly. They understand about utilizing tools. They've been brought up on tools, all types of tools. They know how to use their cell phones, maybe even better than you. So they will pick up very quickly on communication options. So what you're bringing together is not just something that's an alternative, but it's also a daily operations that needs to be considered, no matter where you are in the States or outside of the States. There's various modes of communications occurring all the time, including with satellites.
Mhm.
That's another conversation all within itself, but it's being done every day through operators with communication technology.
Hallelujah.
And there's no internet involved with that.
Just a quick update, my lord. I had spoken to HaCohane. He said he should be back momentarily. Just give him about 3 more minutes. He had to reboot his computer.
Okay, great.
All right.
So it's definitely an area for women and men, for children, elders. I mean, it's the kind of thing that we just need to get familiar with on a very close and intimate level, because it's something that we need to have with us, be it a base station or be it a portable unit. that you can carry in your pocket. All these are options. All these are options. And I'll give some examples while we're waiting. Just yesterday, well, no, 2 days ago, I transferred an application to my cell phone of amateur radio. It's called EchoLink. And I was talking to some men in Morocco. One of them was in France and one was in Morocco. And so the conversation was as clear as we're talking right now. And maybe for about 20 minutes, we communicated, but that could have been anywhere in the world. It didn't have to be Morocco. It could have been Ghana. It could have been the islands. It could have been Brazil. It just happened that we just did this in Morocco. And so this type of communications can be handled from any place. And you can go through different systems that already exist that you can utilize. We just don't know about them, but they're available for you to use. And they've been used for years. So I just want to say that this is something that is available to us already. And children have gained this training. And so we're going to talk about other things besides the amateur radio, but we're talking about things that are all connected, including networks. So all of this is, what is a switch, a router? You know, we're not going to teach the class today, but we just want to kind of give you the highlights that these are the kind of areas that we need to get deeper into. Okay, my brother, are you ready?
Absolutely.
Hallelujah.
I just need to be made host again so I can so we can get started.
Okay, and Coach Sarai, do you have any power where you can make him the host? I'm co-host.
You can switch it on your end.
I'm trying to see where to do that.
You go into participants, and where it says more, you'll get a drop down screen. It will,
yeah, I don't see the option to make you a host. That's what I'm saying. I'm a co-host. I'm not sure if I can make you a host.
you can't open up participants.
I have it open. I have you here. I'm just trying to find the button to make you host. I don't see it.
You got to run it. You run it across where it says mute. The next to it, it say more.
I have the more. Let me do it again. I have the more open. It gives me to pin you, spotlight, rename, allow record, put in the waiting room.
Only the host can make a co-host.
So co-host can't make a host.
Right. So
I just texted her. She can't
Sarai's
hear.
the host?
So I just texted her.
Oh,
I
Sarai's
sent her a
back.
text.
She's got it. She's got it now. Sarai can make Ahmad a host now. Toda.
Would you say this is technology?
It definitely one form of it for sure.
Technology
And
challenge.
we got the team on this. We working this. We got this. We got Sarai on it. She's about to make Ahmad host again. I'm still co-host. And again, if you can, Ahmad, if you want to email me just in case the presentation, I can. We got to be prepared. We ready for this.
Yes, it's a preparedness, right? So we're going to start from the top and just go through it, or
Let's roll from where we are. I see you're now co-host, so you should be able to share your screen.
yeah, I'm good now. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, this is still being recorded now, or I'd start the recording.
You go ahead, go start recording.
Okay.
And we'll start from the top.
Okay. You're going to give us that powerful prayer again. We need it.
Do it
you know?
twice. All right.
Right.
You make sure your presentation is running. Is it up? Can you share?
Okay. I could bring it up. It wasn't that, it was my computer that went down.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, shalom, shalom, family. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but you know this is part of the battle that we are in. We're going to start all over again. And I am Malakee, man of valor. And it's my pleasure to be a part of this presentation of the TACT, T-A-C-T committee, chaired by our mighty Prince Malakee HaCohane. Before we move forward, what we're going to do is we're going to open up again with another prayer from our mighty Rabbi Binyamin.
Hallelujah. King, Todah, Todah Rabbah. Eloheinu velohe avotenu, Avraham Yitzchak, Yaakov. Mighty power of our forefathers, Avraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov, we call upon you at this time in all humility, asking permission to approach the holy throne that you may hear our words as we invite you into our gathering in this meeting as the family has come together, the ICVC, the Israelite Community Vision Council, with you at the head as directing us this day as we bring forth the word, as we put on our heart Prince Malakee HaCohane, and you bless the words that he speaks, that we may be receive them for the upliftment of our communities, oh Yah, that we can communicate with each other. And above all, that you may communicate and lead us and direct us in the paths of righteousness, keeping us far from the evil man and the evil woman. And through this dark valley we find ourselves, that you will guide us, protect us from all hurts, harms, and dangers that are seen to us, especially those that are unseen. You, oh Yah, are our King for all times and forevermore. We thank you in advance for protecting our families, our children, oh Yah, our elderly, keeping us together even in this dispensation in time. We know better days are ahead, oh Yah, with you at the head, for continuing to teach us, give us the intellect, giving us above all the courage, oh Yah, to stand in thy holy name as we fight the adversaries and those who wish to do us harm. For we will be redeemed, for you are our Savior and our Redeemer, and there is salvation in you. As we put our hope and faith in you, with eternal love for you and each other, blessing thy high and exalted name now and forevermore. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Selah. Tararabah.
Bye-bye.
We need a double powerful prayer to get started. So
Hallelujah.
Shalom, family, and welcome to our TACT, Telecom, IT Systems, Alternative Energy, Cyber Command and Technology Center team. Tarabah for attending the TACT committee presentation. Our team operates under the auspices of the Israelite Community Vision Council's ICVC Strategic Planning Committee. We first want to acknowledge and say Todah Rabbah, Yahweh, for our divine discernment, and extend our appreciation to all our supporters. Without your participation, we would not be able to serve our Hebraic family with outstanding and much needed technological response. We will serve our communities in sustaining and maintaining a proactive, Yah-conscious way of life. We will utilize the vast wisdom of our intergenerational population within our community through literature, audiovisual forums, hands-on demonstrations, and more. The TACT committee has created a forward-thinking platform for the advancement and preparedness of our nation globally. More information, if you like what you hear or you want to hear more, contact us at ICVC TACT protonmail.com. With that, I turn it over to the chair of this committee, Prince Malakee, HaCohane.
So Rabbi, man of valor, Magani, we appreciate you very much for that introduction and those prayers. Rabbi Benyamin, they hit it right on the spot. It's an upliftment to us all. We're entering into an area where there's a need for the Hebraic family to have operational devices and technology tools to implement, support, coordinate, as well as to secure our local communications internationally, and our broadcast networks. We have to have our own. So the global transition of what we're talking about, these villages utilizing solar energy and communications as a daily operation, as well as a backup if needed, throughout the diaspora and throughout the continent. So we talk about a vision statement. The vision statement is to recruit, build a talented operations TACT team that will participate in establishing global communication networks. These members will become self-sufficient while implementing local, private, and public communications systems. We'll also utilize many available known and unknown communication systems. So we're saying there's communication systems that are there, but there are also those that are there that are unknown to us that are being utilized by others. So we have to become familiar with what's around us, what's in the atmosphere, and how to tap in, tune, and utilize these mediums for our own purpose. Tamshi. Mission statement: to implement the Hebraic TACT Certified Training Institute to educate, support, coordinate, and secure our own local to international two-way devices, broadcast communication networks, and to have those students that would learn by online classes, live video sessions, and field day exercises. Licenses and certifications will be awarded during this training. We talk about field day, we mean actually in the field, actually implementing these stations, testing them, talking to people in different parts of the world, setting up the antenna, tweaking the antennas, turning the antennas, got meters in the line to make sure there's no losses and everything is at its optimum level of performance. So this is the kind of hands-on practice that comes in to implementing these type of stations. So sure, there are some you can carry around, but there are some that need to be stationary, and all of this would be exposed to you. I'm sure. All right. There's 14 areas that we're going to deal with today, 14 different courses from the TACT Institute. Now, we talk about shortwave radio. One second, might as well cut this off. It never goes without promise that you'll get a call while you're talking. All right, Slika. There's shortwave radio listening. There's broadcast stations around the world that are constantly broadcasting news about their country and about things that's happening around them as well, associated countries in the environment or around the world. It's important to know how to tune in and listen to what's being said. When certain things hit certain medias, it's twisted. It's not the same as it actually was an hour or 2 hours ago. So it's possible to sit back and tune in various countries in Africa, in Brazil, in many other countries, in the islands. You can tune in these countries' broadcast stations and listen to what's occurring on the spot. And so that talent is something that you can pick up on very easily by buying shortwave radio. Or if you get a ham station, it has a built-in shortwave radio. So you can not only transmit to different people, but you can listen to different broadcasts that are being made simultaneously from other parts of the world. Language is going to be a factor, but there are many English broadcasts as well. Okay, we talk about utility band monitoring. What is utility band monitoring? That's the listening to different stations that are transmitting, like your fire department, like your water department, any type of business that has communications has a frequency. That frequency is available to listen to. They don't change these frequencies every year. They can't afford to. So you can have that frequency tuned into your units, know how to dial them up and listen to what's being said. It's not impossible. It happens every day. Broadcasts are occurring when they're working on the streets, they're working on lights, they're working on water, or there's an outage. You can actually tune in to the internal communications to get a good idea of why they're there. Many people don't ask questions. We have to start asking questions. Hey, what's going on? Or what you doing? You know, and so they can tell you one thing, but you can tune in your house or a portable scanner and listen to directly what's taking place. So you get the real deal. So it's important that we utilize these things. There are also private frequencies that we're not aware of that have communications also, and we'll deal with that. We'll tell you what those frequencies are, where they are, and how to tune them in and listen. And many of these things that's being said, I mean, from the FBI, the CIA, they got a frequency. They don't change this stuff every day, every year. They may have it for 5 or 6 years. And so you can listen to what's taking place. If it's being transmitted, it can be received. And the units are available to receive them. It used to be that you could just receive what's happening in your neighborhood. But now, through other inventions, you're able to listen to what's happening in Chicago's neighborhoods. And you could be in New Jersey or Philadelphia or New York. So now it's become a national thing where you could tune in and listen to little private, local area conversations by police, fire, or any of these utility band transceivers. Transceiver means transmits and receives. You can hear these broadcasts taking place anywhere in the country, down to the little mom and pop water department. And you can just listen to them. So it's important to know that that's available to you. Okay, so we talked a little bit about police and fire in the process of talking about utility band. Police and fire, of course, are more specific, but it's just so important to know how to tune into any of these transceivers, any of these transmissions that's taking place. Amateur radio operations. This is one area where you're actually able to implement a lot of the things that we've been talking about, where you can implement your own transceivers. You can build your own units. You can build them, you can put them on the air, you can talk to people around the world with them. You can actually set up the antennas. You can do a lot more than what I'm saying at this point. Of course, there's video where you can have two-way television transmissions with people, other parts of the world. You can do this at any time. It happens all day, every day through amateur radio. You're able to talk. You can still do Morse code if you desire. It's not required anymore in the United States, but in some countries it's still required as something to know, but it can't hurt you. It's another language. So you can do that as well. But the communications atmosphere is open for all types of communications. Satellite, you can do what they call satellite bounce, moon bounce. You can talk to people in other parts of the world through hitting the satellite first and then they come back down to the earth. Hitting the moon, you can hit your signals, can hit the moon and bounce back down to the earth to somebody else's receiver. And you can do a two-way conversation by bouncing off the moon. Normally, the bounce occurs off the ionosphere in the sky, but you can pinpoint it to the moon and do the same thing. So there's so many open areas of communications that's available through amateur radio that is so important to know, or have somebody in your family actually pursuing those kind of licenses and being aware of how this is done. And for your protection, if you're into survival and protection, it's important to have some of these same tools at your disposal. I look at it as a daily operational approach that needs to be done, but it can be used for many other areas as far as your survival or your protection around you, wherever you're going or wherever you are. So all of this is available to you. Okay, you're hearing a lot about cybersecurity these days. It's important to know what's going on with cybersecurity. You know, people's bank accounts are being broken into. Corporations are paying money out because they can't stop you. They'll just pay you the money because they want to get back into the operational mode with their business. So it's important to know what's being done. How are they doing this? Is it just a virus that they're putting on to stop you from blocking you? Or is there inside people for a price giving the information on what they call the dark web for anybody, even for a price? So I'm saying everything's negotiable now. It's important to know that your personal information is on the web. People can get access to who you are, your name, where you live. Well, you know that now, you can do that. But it was already happening on what they call the dark web, a certain area you go to where you can access information and search for information and exchange information about you, your family, your neighborhood, your personal business, your bank accounts. This information is available, and it's available to many, and for some, they secure it with a price or with the trade. So everything is wanted, everything is traded, everything is sold. And it happens to be about you and your business as well. So it's important to know these things exist, and how can you counteract this information? How can you stay out of the hands of the dark web? Is it possible to stay out of their hands? In many cases, it's not, but you can reduce some of that effect by keeping your information personal. Well, what does that mean, personal? Does that mean, it may mean don't sign up for so many sites, don't publicize your information for it, don't try to obtain information from others on the web that's trying to offer it to you. So there's ways to reduce your information from spreading all over. And we'll talk about that in that particular course, and some of the things to detect and to notice how you're being hacked by others. It can be seen before it takes place if it's being monitored. We'll discuss that. We spoke about the Morse code a little bit earlier, but the Morse code is still a viable art because it is a language and it goes much further in distance than your voice will go, because those tones break through the static and the airwaves and can become very susceptible or very much heard any place. Your voice may not make it that far. Video may not make it that far through the signals in our atmosphere, but the tones go a lot further. And that's why it's a popular area still, knowing the Morse code. Okay, when we speak about LAN and WAN networks, what is that? Well, LAN stands for local area networks. WAN stands for wide area networks. What does that mean? A business has 20 or 40 computers on one floor, and it's the accounting department. Well, there's a local area network for the accounting department. Then it's another floor that may be strictly about human resource. Well, they have a network to share data and information about the human resource information of the employees. That's a separate LAN or local area network. But then you could tie them all together. And guess what? It's still a local area network, but it all is part of a department. So you can have various groupings under local area networks. But then you have what you call a WAN, or wide area networks, which means that this business may have a branch in Chicago, they may have a branch in New Jersey, or a branch in Montana or Colorado, and they have them all hooked together where they can share. The accounting departments can share the information between all those different 4 locations. That's what you call a wide area network. So everything is separated out, but it's structured in such a way where you can still access it as if you were all inside of one room or one building. So things are divided off for usage. And that's what you call the networks. How do you maintain these networks? What is a server? What is a cloud? And why is it important that people are moving toward the cloud now? Should you move toward the cloud? That's a question that to be questioned, because once it gets to the cloud, it is available to be hacked. That's available to be hacked if you have a server in your house. Well, a cloud is many, many servers. But if you have it in your house, at least you can monitor it much more easier than you can on the cloud. And you can see what's taking place and who's trying to get information within the server and access it. So this is very important. So all advancement is not good. You may say, well, if you don't go to the cloud, man, you're not doing nothing. Today, you have to be on the cloud. Not necessarily. Your backup drive is a cloud, because all your data could be on there, and other people's data that you've been saving could be on that backup drive. But what's the backup to that? Because if that backup drive goes bad, you lost everything. Well, there's companies that are good at breaking into these hard drives and providing you all that information back once that hard drive broke, but for a fee. And it's important that you can back up as many times as you can before it gets to the point that you have to pay somebody to get access to your information. So it's so key that we utilize these tools that's available for our disposal, that we utilize them to assist us early instead of late. Tamshi. Okay, Wi-Fi and cabling. Well, Wi-Fi may seem to be a small thing in your house, but when you talk about Wi-Fi in a business, a lot of times there's phones, portable phones that are part of the network that can be accessed in a building, but the cabling for what they call an access point. In other words, if you can access the Wi-Fi in this room, you may go 2 rooms down and may not get a good access to that same Wi-Fi because you're further away from the access point. The access point is that point that it first hits when it comes into your house or your business. So you have to extend that access point by adding on other access points all down the hall or all on the different floors of that building. So these portable phones you may have can work wherever you go in the building. It's under the same access points where they're all tied together. Somebody has to cable those access points in the ceiling, run those wires down to each floor. There has to be closets where all of these things are connected back to, because everything extends from a switch closet. So it's important to understand how these things are connected when you go into a building, how the network is wired, just to get a general understanding of what's taking place as far as communication goes. Computer maintenance. Understand about your PC. Understand how much memory you have. Understand how much memory you have left. You may have a 500 gig hard drive, but you've been sending a lot of video, you've been sending a lot of information out, and video will eat up your space quickly. So when you're using video and music and data, your your space, your hard drive space was originally 500 gig, but it may be down to 50 gig now. And you find that certain things you can't do. It's not because the hard drive isn't working, it's because you don't have any space left. So then you go to the cloud and save some of that space. But again, you want to be certain that that which you put on the cloud, you want to put there, or do you want to put it on an external drive in your home, and you store it there and clear up some of that space on your personal PC so you can run faster. So you gotta know how to check the RAM memory. That's the juggling memory of a PC. How is it running? Do I have 16 gig of RAM, or do I have only 4 gig? When I bought it, maybe it only came with 4 gig of RAM. So I want to increase my juggling memory so I'm able to continually access all these apps and all these files that I have on my computer. If I don't increase the RAM memory, this juggling memory, then that means what? That means that it'll be slow. It's going to slow down. And somebody may tell you, well, you got a virus. But you can find out for sure by just checking the specs of your system. But run your virus protection. Don't just have it sit there all year. Run it sometime to make sure it's cleaning. And don't have one that just tells you you got a virus, but have one that will also clean the virus. So computer maintenance is being familiar with your PC. You got batteries, you got 2 batteries, not just the big one that you put in your laptop, but you got a little small one also that goes in there. And if that little small one goes bad, your clock is gonna stop, it's gonna slow down. So the different things that pertain to a healthy system, that's important by looking at the computer maintenance, and a lot of things you can do. And of course, you go to others that can help you as well. So when we talk about African Technology Centers, there's many different names for them in the continent. They call them CTIs, they call them all kinds of different names. But these tech centers may be a combined library where people go to utilize the computers and they get access to the internet and to do research. But we have to continually think about that. When we're going into different countries or living in different countries, do we have those systems updated? Because you can go to a computer that's not your own, that has a virus on it. You can have a file that you're going to save that file with your little small backup drive. You could take it home and bring the virus to your computer at home. So you gotta know how to clean these small drives once you've downloaded to them some files to make sure before you stick it in your home computer that it's clean. So there's many things to consider, especially when you're traveling and especially when you're in other countries. Are their systems updated? Is the software updated? See, everyone doesn't use Windows. You don't have to have Windows. Most of the world is still using Linux now. Linux is another type of operating system. And a lot of software is free for Linux that you pay for here in the States. And they can do the same thing, and they can convert files from Linux into Microsoft Word. So you can still use some of the same software on a Linux system that you can use in a Windows system. So it's important to know what kind of system are you going to have when you get to where you're going. Do you need to bring a computer with Linux? Or do you have the right files that will convert files that can be read on a Linux system if you have to go to a Linux system or vice versa? Those are important aspects to be aware of when you're dealing with technology centers outside of the familiarity of your environment, because things may be different. People don't have that kind of money where they can just go out and buy Microsoft Office for $300. They don't have it. So they have systems and software that are free that will do the same thing, as well as the printer. They can print to that printer with that software. They can identify. They can get the drivers online for that printer, so it can be online, but you got to be able to print to that particular printer from your software, from your Linux computer or your Windows-based computer. That's just some of it, and there's more operating systems than just those two. So, we get comfortable with Windows because we're in America. but you gotta look way beyond Windows now because you're moving globally. Basic electronics. Many things are built and put together down to the component level. Things have moved away in some areas from components down to what they call cards. And that card is basically a circuitry of thousands of components on that card. So you can replace those cards in your computer. You can take out a card, a video card, put in a new video card. You can take out a sound card and put in a better sound card. So, and in many systems, you have sound cards, not just computers, and game systems as well. So we got to understand the basic electronics. What are these components? Where do they go? How do you plug them in? How do you unplug them? You know, in your cameras, you have cards now. So, you know, so all these memory cards and all these different special cards for giving you significant audio or significant or increasing your video. It's important to know what these cards are and how to actually plug them in, unplug them, and how to do it the right way. So get familiar with the electronics involved. What are the components in some of these cards? What kind of component or what kind of jack do I have on my laptop where I can plug in some of these different cards, or on my desktop, because desktops are still good. It's just a matter of it's a little bit more heavier in weight. And it's a lot more specialized cards that you can put inside these desktop computers that can be very helpful to what you're processing and what you're looking at as far as the video and getting a clear, crisp view of what you're actually developing. So it's important to have desktops, laptops, understand in your refrigerator, you got electronics. You can now set up a network in your house with your refrigerator, your stove, because everything is becoming electronic, or what we term now as digital. And they have networks where they can call you and tell you left your stove on, or your refrigerator door is open because the temperature is decreasing. All this stuff can be seen in a network, and it can be monitored so you could be informed of making certain changes to what you have, or going back home, opening the door. That can be even done electronically or digitally. Get into the house, close the refrigerator, turn the stove off. But a lot of this can be done remotely. Turning your heat on, turning your heat off. So we got to get familiar with it. The digital or the digitizing, the digital, the words become even more complicated to say, some of the basic words. Digitizing a lot of the things that we use every day. Is there an advantage in that, or is it a disadvantage? It just depends on how it's going to work for you. Your alarm system, you can see everything from across the country and out of the country because it all goes to the internet. That may be an advantage for you, but it may not be an advantage for you to have it on your door, especially if somebody comes by and knows how to manipulate codes and they can get into your house or your car. So it's important to evaluate as things advance, or what they call advance. It's important to evaluate the advance and see, is it good for you? Does it work for you? And what's your backup? So Prince Aram is going to speak to us more about the solar energy phase and applications of some of the areas that we need to consider, very important areas to consider. Prince Aram, it's on you, sir.
Shalom, peace and blessings to everyone in attendance at the meeting, and hallelujah. Prince Malakee.
Thank you.
Solar, power source, unlimited, uncontrolled by any set of individuals or individual, meaning it's abundantly available to us all to provide a source of power. We live in a power consuming and power necessary societies. We've all become acclimated to the fact that we need portable devices, electronics, lighting, small appliances, et cetera, have become a necessary part of our lives. And what solar energy is able to do is to provide a power source so that we can gain more freedom of movement. We're not limited to where we can be located with the right setup, from a simple setup to a more complicated setup. We can take care of all of our immediate needs and then some auxiliary needs as well. To use America as an example, solar panels are the fastest growing energy source in America. And you know, there are plenty of people in America. So this is a discussion not limited just to us and our needs, but that everybody realizes that they need a portable alternative power source. Power sources are the first thing to come under attack. Power sources, the infrastructure for the power sources that we're used to are many, many, many years old. So we need alternatives, and we need an understanding about those alternatives and how they work. Generally, what's involved, we're talking about solar panels, connectors, converters to convert energy from one form to another, from the solar form to be transformed to storage batteries. Storage batteries, then we tap into those batteries to power our devices like our phones, our computers, portable lights. You can even have refrigerators, stoves, fans, even up to even more power consuming appliances, depending on the strength of your network. They're even talking about solar energy in deep space. So this is how applicable solar energy is. We have brothers in Liberia, a brother by the name of Mark Ibe and his brother, who's an instructor, an installer. He's committed to liberation building and creating. He's taught internationally. He has solar products. He has solar installations. And so we have everything necessary to build networks out to whatever degree that we want. We can do Zoom meetings, etc. So we have the things in place. We have the personnel, we have the understanding, we have availability to equipment. He sells and produces solar equipment. So we're in a position to either design or even create a solar, use solar as a business source, or create opportunities for ourselves in terms of generating income, employment, etc. And in the building out of communities wherever we are, that we have the capabilities to provide an alternative energy source. Improvements in storage battery technology make it possible to pretty much take these installations anywhere that we are and anywhere that we go, and have a complete reliability on their function and their application. Okay, so just want to say that we could get more into detail going forward, but those things are already in place. We can connect them very simply. We can bring all of these things together in a very short period of time. So Prince Malakee, just want to put that into the hearing of the people, that solar energy, solar power, solar panels, people are competing for that now as these other alternative, as these other energy sources are fast dissipating and being taken over or compromised or destroyed even. So with that, I say Sila and Toda for opportunity to give some information regarding it.
Toda Rabbi, a wealth of information that we cannot get around and not consider in this day and time. Toda Rabbi once again. Okay, I got two more areas that we're focusing on here. One is an area of antennas. When we talk about communications, we have to consider that there are antennas involved. Now, if we're talking about high frequency And high frequency is a certain range of transmissions that usually begin around, let's say, from 0 to 30 megahertz. In future courses, we'll talk about what is a megahertz, what is a kilohertz. But in between 0 and 30 megahertz is an area of high frequency. Those antennas are very, very long. And you may see different towers, which are really antennas. Some towers are completely antennas, and some towers will hold antennas at the very top. But in high frequency areas, the antennas are very, very tall. But when you get to what you call VHF, UHF, and above, now your antennas are very small. And the way we used to equate that in explaining this years ago, we used to always say, look at the police car. The police car got the small antenna on it, but the small antenna was the antenna for use when you're dealing with very high and ultra high frequencies. But for the HF frequencies, or what they call high frequency, is longer antennas. But with the VHF and UHF frequency range, it's not so much important about distance as it was that you didn't need an antenna that was super long to operate on those frequencies. And so when we talk about earlier in our discussion about ham radio, you're going to find that all of these antennas are involved, depending on what frequency you are operating on. You will determine from there what type of antenna you would need. And those that are into building will want to build their antennas. You don't have to, but many like to build what they do. So they get the wire and they cut the wire at a certain length, or they get aluminum and they solder components together and they have an antenna. There's an antenna on many things. You may not even know there's an antenna there because it's so small. You didn't consider it to be an antenna, but it's an antenna. So it's very important to know what this antenna is and what really is this antenna that generates a magnetic force when you put power through it, or when you put a signal from your unit through the coax cable to the actual antenna. This magnetic energy that generates around that, what is that? Is it dangerous? Can it hurt you? Can you touch the antenna while you're talking on the unit, putting out 200 watts or 1,000 watts? So it's important to get familiar with safety in all of these aspects that we're talking about. How do I do this and do it safely? Do it very safely so I can be around to do it again in the proper way. So we're talking about how to connect these different cables together and connect these different antennas together, and what are these components that I need to connect the antenna to the radio? What other kind of connectors are necessary? What other kind of wires are necessary? What other kind of meters are necessary? So all of this will be exposed in the training, but it's important to know that it's more than just the radio. There's other components involved to make this a successful communications. Now we talk about the area of telecommunications. When we speak about telecommunications, we're talking about an area where you don't always see in the back, but it's an area that's in the closets. It's an area that's underground when they're running fiber cable and they're running it back to a unit where they're what they call punching down these connections in the unit. But those connections go somewhere else underground or above ground, back to the actual facility where all this broadcast is taking place at. This is all what you would consider as the infrastructure, but it's also equipment as part of this infrastructure. And this equipment is the transmitting station. It could be a receiving station with big, large dish antennas that you've seen before, not for the commercial, not for your house, but this is commercial use. But all these units and all these components have to be tied together through cabling. So this infrastructure or this telecommunications consists of all of this. The phone company, as we used to call them, that had all of the various connections from your house, your block, and all the miles and miles and miles of homes and buildings and businesses. All that cabling was going back to a central station, or to many different central stations. This was all termed as the telecommunications. The servers that's used in those aspects are part of the telecommunications. How to administrate those servers, how to see when someone has not paid their bill and how it goes all the way through and the power is cut off, and where's it disconnected at exactly. So this is all part of the telecommunications part of keeping, or the backbone that keeps the forefront in place, that keeps the communications in place. Someone has to know what they're doing to maintain the backbone. They have to know how things operate, how to change out things. They have to come in overtime and at all kind of strange hours when there's an emergency. So it's very important to be aware of the telecommunications aspect of all that we're talking about. It's the backbone and how that plays a part even when setting up small stations. Okay, you have to be very much aware of that there is a backbone to everything that we're doing. Okay, at this point, we've covered a lot of different points involved with technology communications or telecommunications, however you want to label it. Today it kind of crosses because it's all so similar now, and a lot that was used yesterday is used now inside of computers. But it's still what it is. It's still the backbone. So in speaking about all of this, there's different questions you can ask that you may wonder exactly, for example, why is this important? Well, in different ways, we talked about that. Why things are important. Depends on what your needs are and what you're trying to do. So it all depends on exactly what you're working with that dictates the importance of what we spoke about today and how is it relevant in your life. That will answer the importance of the overall subject matter. How long will it take to learn this? Well, it's difficult to put it in a period of time, but I can say that to gain enough knowledge to operate an amateur radio station and to begin to get into the basics of that, it could take you a couple of months. A couple of months because there's a test involved for a license. And so you want to be able to pass that test, but don't feel you're going to know everything once you finish it. You'll get a good glimpse of what it's all about, but then you have to get with people who are actually doing this to kind of put the covering on it, to kind of give you a real clear concept of what's going on and what these terms mean and how they're really used on physical devices. So it could take a few months, 2 to 3 months to get your license. And there's many strategic ways to go about that. And that can be discussed while you're inside that particular pattern. Who can join TACT? Well, we're always looking for people that have the interest in technology, the interest in not being satisfied with the way things are set up today, as far as just saying, well, it is what it is, and if it falls apart, then I'll wait until they fix it. You know, ready to take initiative into your own hands, ready to have that interest about cybersecurity for yourself and for those that you know, and want to be part of setting up that central location where we can give support to one another. That's a very important aspect of it. That is our technology centers. When we can begin to support one another, answer questions, and give guidance, all this is part of TACT. And those that want to join TACT must have that interest in being part and concerned about the communications around them and what they can do and take control into their own hand. How can you benefit? Well, you benefit because it's assisting you in your development. So, so let me ask this question. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to go through all of these questions or just answer the ones that you have an interest in. But I'm just giving you some highlights as we go through these points that kind of answers maybe some of your questions inside your mind. At the same time, gives you more information about this whole area of telecommunications and technologies. So I think I said, how can you benefit, right? Well, it benefits you depending on what area you're focusing on. And it can probably help you as far as communications if you're far from a major city, how to close that gap with others that you're working with in the communities, be it overseas or be it local in cities like in the United States. Where can I learn this? You can learn this through a class. You can learn it online. There's tapes, there's videos, there's different ways to do that. I think we need to take advantage of knowing one another and begin to formulate classes to get these type of skills. You never know when these type of skills, even if you don't have interest, can be useful for you if the lights go out. It can be useful for you if the lights don't go out, because you have a method of communicating to your children and your family all the time, and being aware of what's taking place around you through tuning into radios and receivers, knowing what these different units are and where to buy them at. So this is all knowledge, information that can be helpful. Was somebody saying something?
Yeah, sounded like I heard someone say something, or maybe they were off mute.
Okay.
I was going to say too, like what you had mentioned earlier, may not be necessary for you to go through all the questions, but these are questions that, depending on what area, like you said, these questions are, these are open-ended questions, which depending on what you actually want to pursue, those questions would be appropriate. But you would have to know what it is that you want to go into. And I know we're coming to our Q&A session, but whatever one's interested in, those are the questions you would ask, or even if you look it up on your own. But yeah, I don't think it's necessary to go through all of them.
Okay, but I am open for your questions. And I want to thank you for your patience in listening, and to all the presenters who set the wave of this day for having this delivered to you. I want to also thank you as well. And so at this point, I'll take silence and listen if there's any feedback, questions, or concerns.
I just wanted to add before we continue on that we had want to say total Rabah for your support once again, and as Prince had mentioned, this concludes the presentation and we're in Q&A session. Wanted to also say that please contact us at ICVC TACT at protonmail.com, and also that we were attempting to attach a survey to this, but it's I'm looking for, it worked the first time, the last presentation we had, but I wasn't able to put one together this time. But I'm asking that please take down take down the email address, and please give us your thoughts on how this presentation was for you.
We can't see the email
what
address.
you liked, what you didn't like.
We can't see the email address.
Can't see it. Oh, I guess it's too, I don't know, it's too low. I thought I brought it up.
Can you go back to the question and the questions slide? I believe it was there.
Can you see it now? Let's do this.
I can see it on my
Hey,
side.
I see it pretty clear. It's right at the bottom.
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever, by excellent presentation. And those were some excellent questions, information that was covered. This is Queen Adira. Thank you for coming on to the line and sharing this intelligence with the community. Really, really valuable and very necessary right now as we prepare to go into a shift in our paradigm. So please go back to the questions slide and open up the floor, turn off your mics and ask some questions while we have the intelligence on the line right now.
I just want to show you if you get started too. I don't know, can you see this?
Kane, I can see it. Mhm.
All right, this is my starter ham radio. Several months ago, I took the exam for it and passed it, obviously, and I'm licensed to use ham radio. I haven't really got into it yet, but it's not really difficult. They do want people to get involved, and we need to get involved because, you know, there have been other cultures that have been getting involved for a while. We do have a couple of members of the TACT committee or the TACT team that are in the process of studying to take the exam. It gets like 423 questions in here, and no trick questions. They give you the questions so that they want you to know. It's almost like taking an open book test, but when you take the exam, you don't do that. This is a starter. These can go near from $80 up to $3,000, depending on what your need is. And because I'm new at this, I'm not looking to go broke and then it turns into a, you know, placemat or, you know, a placeholder, paper holder. So it's fun. It's fun, and there's many other ways later on you can, you know, for people that have questions for that. But floor is open for everybody else to please ask.
Well, before you do, I want to say this, that you mentioned about 435 questions. That's not actually the test.
Right.
Text questions. Those are just teasers,
right,
which could be on your test. There's only like 35.
35, yes.
For the test, but
Yes.
they, you know, you don't know which one you're going to get. So it could be a different test.
Yes. Mhm. But you'll know it. It's like I said, they make it really easy. And if we start doing it enough and have enough people involved, then we can start doing the same thing. There's online talks and there's Black Ham Radio. If you're just interested in seeing what the conversation is and get more information. Yeah, so. And it is important to understand this, whether you're going to do something with it or not, because there is one thing when you're talking about antennas, you have to know the type of antenna and the type of energy is given off in regards to your own health and your neighbor's health. So there's certain things you have to know. You just can't just put up an antenna and start broadcasting, because you can hurt yourself, your family, or others, not knowing. All right, our sister, Deborah, please.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. TACT team, it was excellent presentation. I have many questions, but I'll give you my first question I have is about my cell phone. My cell phone recently, I noticed I was at the doctor and I'm calling my sister on the phone. Automatically on my cell phone, it showed where I was as far as the address. How is that possible?
Well, I think your phone gives you the option where a person can determine where you're located at if you cut that option on in your phone.
How do I know where? I didn't want that option to be that, you know, you said it's on my phone, that it's an option that it showed up like that?
Yeah, there's an option so you could be tracked. There's an
Yes.
option that can determine where you are at all times. And you have to give that permission in order for that to take place. It only takes place when you get that permission. Now, of course, you can dial 911 and they can find you.
Right.
So, and plus, again, don't go by the rules. You're supposed to be the person that can expose where you are. But believe me, if people want to find you, there's apps available that could tell them everything about you, where you are, where you're located at, and you can download some of these apps.
So my question is, did you think I downloaded that information to happen? You said I had to give it access. Is that in my settings?
Well, like I say, you're supposed to be able to be the person to determine that I want to give access. But there are ways that people can get that information from you, from your phone. There's ways to send out things that you click on and you can give that information and you didn't know you was giving it.
I would say also that the best way, because I know mine was on, I know that I didn't ask for it to be on. It just came up and asked me if I wanted to continue and I just shut it off. But if you can't find it, I can't tell you exactly where. You go to your service provider, say for instance, you have T-Mobile, and you let them know you want that turned off, and they'll do it for you. They'll show you so you can monitor it from that point.
We have two hands in the air.
And excuse me, I have another question also.
Mhm.
On my computer, I noticed that I have a laptop that I'm working from right now, and it would come up to update to Windows 11 and so forth. That I do not want to update, but if I don't update it, that means my
Hold on.
information's not going to be updated.
Okay. There are options that are presented to you to update your system. You don't have to take those options, but sometimes it gets to a point where a particular software is out. In other words, it's ending and there'll be no more updates provided for it.
Right.
And so it's a choice that you can choose to update now or not choose to update it. But when that complete support is gone from the Windows or the operating system that you have, then you won't get any more updates and you won't be able to call in about a problem because they're not providing any more support for that. So it's really something that you got to look at when they're asking you for updates. Sometimes they're not really asking you for updates, but to give you updates. They're trying to get information from you. Because the
Yes.
next question might be, put in your address or put in your email and put in your phone number. So you got to be careful when you're asked to do anything by any
Right.
automated system. You got to be very, very careful because you don't know what you're stepping into.
Okay.
Vera, I think,
Look in the
I think-
chat box. Look in the chat box. Somebody had shared the process to shutting that off. So just look in the chat box.
But I think Israel or Shakina would be really good to go over that with you, just to make sure that you're making the right decision for your phone, because in the event that something does happen to you and you need your GPS tracker on, you might want to have that activated. So just make sure that they're looking it over for you and you make the right decision.
All right.
Okay,
We have
thank you.
another, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The GPS tracker and location are two different operations. The tracker that lets people know what your location is because it'll put it on the map. I know some parents use it for their children. You can link in and find out where to keep track of them. But yeah, just look on the instructions on the inside, and also, you know, that's something maybe we can, you know, navigating your phone for people that have questions. We have people that know. we can just answer, like, just like we're doing, sharing this information now. Look in the chat. See, Gaveret, Deborah Mack, and then Brother Elder Sheikh after that.
Shalom, shalom. I just first want to say this has been a very informative session, and we definitely need it again. And we need to, with all these things, we all need to begin to enlist our younger people. I'm just looking around the chat. We need to have this again, and everybody bring somebody between 18 or 16 and 35. Just, because it's a lot of information for us to absorb.
Okay.
And they know a lot of these things. I have a
Yes.
7-year-old grandson who can show me stuff on the computer, and he doesn't even use the computer. He's
High
on
point.
he's on the phone, he's on the iPad. But we need to, in order for us to progress, we need to engage them. Might not be easy because they're all over the place, but we have to find creative ways to get our children. And in some cases, even in my case, my grandchildren, I have a 16-year-old, 15-year-old granddaughter, and she needs to hear these things. We need more tech-minded youth in these fields to help us navigate where our future is going. The other thing, as you two just reiterated, I was going to say to Deborah that location thing is a double-edged sword. Big Brother, as they say, has a way of tracking us when we don't turn anything on. So we don't want to do it to a detriment where we need that. Like you said, you may be out with your mom or, just with yourself, and somebody may need to track you. I saw someone said the 911 thing would still be on, but you may not be in a position to dial 911. If someone is calling you and you're not answering, at least they can see where you are to just provide assistance, whether it's needed or not. I mean, you're on the computer. I'm on the computer every day, and I'll look up something, and then literally in 5 minutes on the sidebar, I'm seeing ads related to what I looked up. So there are ways that we can't even understand that we could be tracked. I would say is, we just need to watch the things that we do. And as we can learn more, then we can use that to our advantage to keep our own communications open, as well as other people tracking and trying to communicate with us. So we need to use this to our advantage. As I say, you can't win the game if you don't know the rules. So we are way behind the 8-ball in the technology, and we need to do, even if we can do small workshops so that we can learn, because they say the best way to keep your mind sharp is to learn new things. So we can put together small workshops that even at our ages that we can continue to learn, even on the level where we are. Like you said, we can learn how to operate our phones more sufficiently and our own computers. I get that same Windows 11, and I keep declining the update, because then you've got to update your equipment. So we need to know the differences, how long we have before we must update, and what is the differences. So if we could get more classes for us, that would be great. Thank you for the time.
Great comments. And it's so important to look at everything and what you're doing. And you're right. The children can teach us. That we have to engage them, and they can teach us. And again, I want to say this. You got children 8, 9, 10 years old getting these licenses to communicate. So it's not really 16, 15, you can go even lower. And they're getting field experiences on field days where they go out into the field and set up antennas and learn how to operate radios and just do all this stuff from an area in a park. So we got to go to the street, we got to go to the parks and start utilizing training session days. And so this could be done by regions as well. It happens all over. That's just part of it. That's part of the operations of the clubs, is to have field day where they go out and make contacts all over the world, and they utilize different types of units to communicate to different parts of the world. And so all this is just the practice of coming together and using it for our benefit.
So we have a question in the chat, and we have Elder Sheikh's hand up, and somebody took their hand down as well. So we had a third question, but we have a question in the chat as well as Elder Sheikh.
Okay, do you want to take over this portion of it and manage the traffic?
I have no problem with managing the traffic that I can see, but what's behind the door,
No, I was speaking to Ravanese Adira.
Officer Idea.
Yeah, because I can see everything. I can see whose hands are
Okay.
up and they're going down. That's good.
Okay. All right, well, handle it, Waukesha.
Okay, shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to say, Toda Yah, you know, this is a great presentation, Prince Malakee. The first question, with a comment I have on the last sister, you know, we definitely need to at least bring at least one youth. You know, youth means somebody under 40 for this crowd here. And if that ain't number joint, bringing our son or a grandchild or something, because we need to be able to let them learn these things. A great concept here is we have someone to learn all this, then they teach the teacher. So we have someone to teach, be able to teach the teacher, to be able to get the, you know, for these workshops, so we can get into information out. The question I have for Prince El Ram on the solar, you know, the evolving, how the solar energy and all that's evolving, and the panels and the batteries are getting better, getting stronger. Is the cost, does that mean the cost of the panels, the solar equipment getting cheaper? And also, is it as far as getting lower? And I think you were saying we have some of our own people now that can install and build these solar panels for us.
Okay. Peace and blessing to you, Elder Seth.
Canaan.
Hallelujah. Yeah, it's nice to speak to you. Well, first of all, we want to say that in America, a lot of us have, and I keep referring to that because a lot of us have some experience or know something about solar relative to America, and it was associated with the middle or the upper middle class because of the cost. So maybe when we checked in on it initially, when it was newer, the solar panels, the installation, the application, your understanding that went with it was pricey. Okay, and there are a few reasons for that, and one of them being the petroleum industry or the power or the oil industry is not looking for competition from other energy sources, and also it empowered people to be more in charge of their energy needs and control their energy sources. You didn't have to pay. You didn't have to pay the same kind of bills. You didn't have to check in. You didn't have to be on the grid. You didn't have to be subject to all the things that govern the power industry or the supplying of power to run appliances, etc. That's one thing. Solar panels, the minerals to construct solar panels, you're talking about top four metals involved with solar panels. It's copper, silicon, silver, and zinc. All of those things are found in abundance, particularly in Africa, but worldwide. So there's another reason why they didn't want you to know that these things take you out of the realm of a certain economic system. They take you out of the realm of a certain development module, because you can generate enough power to create whatever industries and infrastructure you want in the land or area or country that you live in and that you want to control. So they keep the prices high. The economy keeps the prices high for those things because we are a supplier of raw materials and not a producer of finished product. That's on purpose. The other situation would be the creation of jobs in small industry, because we do have these minerals and resources in abundance. You can see that we can create companies and jobs and infrastructure for our people and create whatever we want to create or wherever our intelligence and ingenuity and drive will take us, which means development. So we would be able to develop ourselves, and that would be directly under our control. Now, right now, the #1 producer of solar panels is of course, China, and the type of panels that predominate reflect a mineral that is in abundance in China that they control. So they're pushing those panels and creating those panels and marketing them worldwide. Well, we're looking at doing the same thing for ourselves with minerals that are either close by or within the sphere of the African world, so that we don't necessarily have to be dependent again on an outside energy source. We're talking about the sun. Nobody can control that. So they try to control everything under the sun in order to keep us in the position that we're in. If I'll mention again, as I mentioned earlier, they are even talking about on this trip to Mars, this Mars mission that they almost guarantee is going to happen in the next few years. They've created a so-called solar, a deep space solar application that they can transport to wherever they're going. And when they get to where they're going, they will use the sand, which you find silica or silicon from the sand on Mars. They have this portable unit that's going to convert that into silicon to make panels and then draw solar energy in deep space. So again, you know, if it's portable enough to go to deep space, or if it's possible to go to deep space, we certainly can go to Nigeria and Liberia and Africa, dig up some minerals, put some panels together, and generate some sources for ourselves. So I'm just talking about how the technology has moved on to the point where the advances in what's the word I want? The storage technology for the batteries, because once you transfer the energy from one source to another, how it's stored, how long it's stored, and the strength of the storage battery and the length of time that it's stored are the determining factors after the fact. Chip, that's what I wanted. Computer chip. Now technology allows for that application with solar, so you're able to reduce size and the amount of materials used.
All right, Prince, if we could, we're definitely, I know we started late, but it's after 4 now, and we must wrap it up, unfortunately, just to respect the time of others. I know there are other things that we all have to do, but I would say, as our sister Rabbani Adira had said, that, you know, definitely if you could please put your contact information in the chat, if you can do that now. And also, we'd like for you to please contact us. Please, we all have email. I know everyone on here has an email address. ICVC TACT, TACT, at protonmail.com. And please let us know exactly what you are interested in and what you'd like to see. Was this boring? Was it too long? Was it not long enough? We need all input that we can get. And I see your hand, Rabbani, but if you allow me to, I want to read this brother's question, and then you will be the last question or comments for this time. Our brother Ishan, thank you for participating, coming in, and as soon as I come up, okay, this is the question. With setting up networks for communication, do you have capacity to write the computer software / programming to get the necessary functions and algorithms? These may relate to security encryption, billing, and combating viral attacks to our systems.
Okay, writing programs is an important area. That's a specialty unto itself. I don't write the programs. I have wrote programs in the past. in software, but it wasn't for, it wasn't these kinds of scripts. So it's important to learn all you can about communications. I mean, writing scripts, programs, how to monitor equipment, repairing equipment. You know, all of this is just part of the skill set that encompasses the entire area, the entire arena. So definitely there may be someone that does. A lot of these youth today are writing programs in C language, Linux. So again, there's so much that you can do if you can write programs. You can write programs for the Play Store. I mean, so that kind of stuff is happening as well as far as the youth that are writing programs for games. So definitely that can be done. And it may be some already out there. There's so much software available for amateur radio. I'm sure somebody's writing some of these programs. But again, it's not what I do, but I'm sure we could find someone that does. And as you join these associations, you're able to meet people and talk to people that are actually doing this. And you can find out what their talents are. So definitely, I want to thank you for that question. And I also want to thank those that came today. And I also want to thank those that are in class now, being trained on getting their licenses. There's so much that they're going to get out of that. They don't really even know just at this point how much is going to be available to them besides just the operations aspect of it. But thank you for the efforts and time that's been spent on learning and spent today in listening to what's being said. To everybody.
All right. Queen Adira.
Okay, Toda everybody for bringing us all of this very useful knowledge and intelligence. I think that is so very important in the area of survival and protection and our safety. I love the idea of bringing the children in and getting a specific presentation together for them, you know, that speaks to some of the things that they're really, really interested in, and they're really good with technology. My question was focused on, I had two actually. One was the solar panels. So when I go to the home repair shops or home improvement places like Home Depot and Lowe's and places like that, I'm getting a question about solar panels, right? Do I want to have solar panels installed in my house? First thing I think of is going to be really, really expensive. There are grants out there. So I guess it's not really a question, but there are grants out there that can help you with the cost of the solar panel installations, so that cost comes down significantly, because in a lot of cases, these are prototypes that they're building, and they want to see what happens. So there's grants out there. This is why I wanted to come in under ICVC as a member, because once we get started with like collecting that grant information, we share it with our community. So the ICVC is a great resource for our community, so that we can have this information at hand and be ready to help those who are interested in having alternative solutions for energy, communication, different things of that nature, cyber intelligence. So our children can be prepared to move on in the future with these types of tools that they need, and that they have what they need. The other thing that I wanted to make sure to mention is those 14 classes, and what Ms. Malakee had just explained. There's a wealth of information in those, and just exposing yourself to that information. So this is about survival and protection. It's about safety. It's about jumping on board with this and moving forward with it, because everybody in every family needs to have this kind of information. And what we want to do is actually make it so that our children can go on a field trip and have a whole survival and protection experience, a 2-week camp, if you will, exposing them to these types of alternative ways of living and surviving. So just wanted to say thank you so much again for participating. Please do put your information in the chat so that we can keep you updated on the next presentations that we do. The one at the end of the month will be for how to stop the spread. So we'll have a nutrition and wellness presentation on how to clean the house, what to clean the house with, what different things that you can use in your house that will actually help build your immune system and not destroy it. So that's some of the things that we want to do, and we will definitely be in touch and keep you in the loop with what the ICVC strategic planning is doing. So we have another hand in the air. Toda Rabah.
I'm sorry, you mentioned two things. ICVC, if you're interested in becoming a member, you can contact either myself or Rabbanita Dira, and we'll get you that information. And in regard to the training stuff, there is a youth group headed by Rabbi Baruch Yehuda and the sister Veridia from out of Pennsylvania. They did their first youth outing this past summer, I think, and they're working on the next one. So that will be something to introduce to them, that they do it. It's a weekend thing. I think they go from maybe like Thursday to Sunday. That might be something good to introduce to, a group of, our youth. Maybe throw something in there that they can work on when they're away on their weekend.
Excellent. All right. And before we have our closing prayer, just read this last comment by Coach Monica. And she says that, and I'm quite sure this is regarding the solar. She says it's not that expensive. We've had ours for a few years now and pay only $54 per month for the solar panels with option to buy after 12 years. It comes with a full warranty on the roof also. Last year, our monthly electric bill with Con Edison was $10 for the entire 12 months. So something to look into. And ICVC TACT at protonmail.com. Sister Monica, if you could send that, yeah, I know, because we're trying to close out, but I know it's not Monica. If you could send us the name of the company that you're dealing with, and then we could share it with the family, because you probably will get a referral, some sort of discount on a referral. So with that, Toda Rabah all for sticking with us. This is the rewards of doing that and being diligent and being patient, because they built in us for us to just want to rush, and it creates stress, and that's not what we need. If we're going to benefit from all of this great information, we have to be here above earth to utilize it. So with that, if you have any closing words, Prince Malakee, then you can turn it over to Almighty Rabbi Binyamin to close us out.
Okay. I just want to say, Toda, once again, for your presence today and for your participation in what we're doing. And I'm hoping every moment of this presentation was rewarding and informative to you as well. The whole idea was to make it as practical as possible, but at the same time to prepare you and to inform you of some of the next steps you can take to get involved with us. And so you'll be getting those coming up updates about that, about the training, and of course about the membership into ICVC as well. So all of this is key information, useful information, and definite information that's needed for the future. So Toda Rabah, once again, for your presence, for coming out and your support. And we look forward to talking with you and doing this again. Like you said, we'll do it with children, we'll do it with whoever wants to learn it and get involved, but it is definitely available to you. Toda Rabah, and we're passing it over to Almighty Rabbi Binyamin. Toda Rabah.
I just wanted to ask one more question, Prince Babakusha. I see that we do have Hadassah on the line, and she's in Kenya, right? So I wanted to ask you, If we set up communications, will we be able to communicate with places as far as Kenya?
Tell you what, I'm gonna let her answer that question for you. She gave me some powerful information today, so she can definitely answer that question. Sister Hadassah?
Greetings, my brothers and sisters from Kenya. Thank you, Prince Malakee, for allowing me to share a little bit. And before I go on, I want to thank a contact who's been listening in the background since we started this meeting. And he is the Secretary General of the Internet Society of Kenya and Director of Kijiji Yetu, which is a smart village network working to connect with villages to transform information. And this afternoon, we had a mentorship session with one of our many groups, and I'm glad that he stayed over. I told him about this, and we've been doing our own analysis and asking ourselves on the viability and benefits of the ham radio in Kenya. Now, the Secretary General, his name is Hawi Rapudo, na anawaambia nyote habari zenu na anafurahia kuwa sana na nyinyi hapa leo. In short, he's saying that he's glad to have been given this chance to listen in the background, and while he will not make any remarks today, he will allow me to present the few pointers that we managed to gather between us. So if I can quickly go to the amateur radio, we have gathered that it is a popular hobby and a service that brings people, electronics, and communication together. And people in Kenya use ham radio to talk across town and around the world, or even into space, all without internet or cell phones. And the beauty of amateur radio is that it is fun, it is social, educational, and can be a lifeline during times of needs. Now, in Kenya, we do have the Radio Society of Kenya, and the Secretary General, Mr. Hawi, has enlightened me that the Radio Society of Kenya is a member of the International Amateur Radio Union. And with this, they are able to set up radio stations anywhere in any field. Amateur radio has been in existence in Kenya since 1933, when it was initially a part of the Radio Society of East Africa. Then in 1973, it split into the Amateur Radio Society of Kenya, later renamed the Radio Society of Kenya. Then it spread into Tanzania, known as the Tanzania Amateur Radio Club. And then in Uganda, we do have the Uganda Amateur Radio Society, all under the Radio Society of East Africa. Now, I'm also enlightened that the Radio Society of Kenya seeks to promote and develop amateur radio to advance the art and science of radio and its public service role in Kenya, and it is open to all those who are interested. The society continues to grow from strength to strength and is in that exciting stage of growth as they embrace new technologies and operational structures. And one of their most important areas of focus is to grow their members, establish membership across the nations and worldwide, and continually support the growth of amateur radio in the region, to also include welcoming of visitors and supporting qualified licenses in the application for amateur licenses to operate in the country. So I am made to understand, Prince Malakee, that you and your team can actually can qualify to apply for and get licenses from the Republic of Kenya. Now, over the years, the society has been involved in numerous activities supporting personal, civilian, and national activities. And these include, but which are not limited to, having people communicate, during many of our big events, such as the sporting tourism, an example of the East African Safari Rally. In tours and travel, we do have the Sheldrick Wildlife Rescue Trust, which does rescue operations for endangered elephants and rhinos. And once the team are out in the rescue field, they do use the ham radios to communicate. Our Kenya Wildlife Service anti-poaching unit also does use ham radio to communicate. And for us also in tours and travel, we do have the emergency services such as the derailment department, the Jamboree on Air, which use the ham radio to communicate with each other in case of flight emergencies. Now, moving on to the solar energy. We've also done our analysis, and this is what we've come up with, that the uptake of solar power in Kenya has been due to several factors, such as the cheaper technology for solar panels, abundant supply of panels, over-reliance and costliness of fossil fuels, and the unstable nature sometimes of both the hydro and wind power generation. Therefore, solar power in Kenya is now the next frontier for renewable energy. And Kenya is amongst, the world leaders in the number of solar power systems installed per capita. Now, more Kenyans are actually turning to solar power every year rather than make connections to the country's electric grid. And this is due to a number of challenges which sometimes we face when connection to the national grid, first and foremost, being the cost of the setup and also sometimes the high cost of buying power from our Kenya Power organization. Now, solar utilization in the country is mainly for, photovoltaic systems used for telecommunications, lightings, and the cathodic protection of pipelines. Solar power in Kenya is also used in drying and water heating. And furthermore, we continue to see more and more factories install solar panels on their rooftops to counter the cost of buying power from our national power grid, and also, mitigating against the instability of the grid, since sometimes power outages can be a regular feature of the Kenyan industrial and residential landscape. We have also seen, an appetite for solar products from high-end, like the exclusive game lodges. If you go into our national parks and game reserves, they are moving on to using solar panels. And why is this? Because as compared, to an expensive diesel power generator that causes disturbance in Kenya's game parks, a solar powered plant would be the exact opposite and not affect, the lodge's operations. And I've also been enlightened as well that in Kenya, we do have several solar power projects. And just to mention, I have here around 6. We have the Samburu Solar Project. We have the Kopere Solar Park in Kisumu. We do have the Witu Solar Project, Garissa Solar Project, Isiolo County Solar Project, and Nakuru Solar Project. Now, a decade ago in Kenya, an average 1 kilowatt hour residential solar could cost more than 1 million Kenya shillings. I'm made to understand that is about $8,772. But now at a 64% decrease in average, installing solar now would maybe cost roughly 300,000 to 360,000. That is around 3,155 US dollars to about 3,600 US dollars. Now, the estimated solar potential in Kenya is almost at 15,000 megawatts. At the moment, the installed capacity is more than 100 megawatts, with the largest installation being at the Garissa Solar Power Plant with 55 megawatts installed capacity. So indeed, these are the kind of opportunities that we are all looking at, and we are looking at partnering up. And Prince Malakee, the Secretary General, is happy at such kind of programs, and he requests that you do make or rather visit us in Kenya so that we can continue to explore such opportunities. We also did touch on what is called the green energy, whereby we do have the wind power project, that's the Lake Turkana wind power project, which is in an area that falls between two mountains that produce a tunnel effect in which wind streams are accelerated to high speeds. And once this wind farm is complete, it will have 365 wind turbines of a capacity of 850 kilowatts each. And in addition to the wind turbine generators and their foundations, this 33 kilovolt electric collector network will be constructed to help, our citizens access electricity up from 30% to 75% countrywide. And this
So when
will,
we talk about right. So when we talk about these opportunities, these are opportunities that not only exist in Africa, but they also exist in North America. But we can absolutely take our intelligence and combine it together, and together make the decisions necessary to carry our community forward. So we do very much appreciate you coming on the line to explain all of that and the opportunities. And we definitely have to get, we definitely have to have an energy, aside from communications, we have to split some of this up, Prince Malakee, okay? Definitely, because there's so much information in these segments, in those 14 classes. That's why I said in those 14 classes, there's a lot of information, and 35 questions does not even cover the amount of information that is available, that we can expound on, and then we can connect together with. But I'm very excited about Hadassah being on the line, and making these connections are so very valuable and important. We do want to say, before we do close out in prayer, that we will expect a repatriation to Kenya coming up. We have another opportunity to explore Kenya through Hadassah's eyes. She is a wonderful ambassador, and we look forward to hearing from her again. Hadassah, did you want to wrap up your thoughts so we can close out?
Yes, I just wanted to finish off by saying that to meet and work as one is one of the core practical protocols of our functionality. And it is always a pleasure to be able to interact and share.
Yes, thank you. Toda Rabah, hallelujah. Straight from the motherland, you all. That's a beautiful thing. So Prince Malakee, I pass you the mic. Hallelujah.
All right, well, I want to thank you, Sister Hadassah, for so much information that you provided. Is just so useful, and making those internal contacts are just something that you just can't take lightly. And yes, I will take advantage of that offer to come and to greet, meet, sit down and strategize, because this is a worldwide, this is a global approach. And so it's something that we can't get around. It's here. The whole issue of power, the whole issue of technology, it's here. And this is our way of making more opening roads throughout the continent, other countries, working with other people, other professors, other people involved with the political structure, and of course with students. And so thank you again for your diligence and your commitment to follow through with information. It's been a blessing to us here. And that whole Eastern region is something that I really look forward to seeing you diving in deeper and bringing out more information as you've been doing in the past. So thanks again. And at this point, there's nothing else, I'll bring it over to Rabbi to close us out with his
Okay.
blessing. And it's definitely been a blessed day. Toda Rabbi.
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. Hallelujah. 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 Oh, eternal, great King, ruler of the universe. We thank you and appreciate the love that you have shown us this day by blessing us with the words as using us, thy servants, oh Yah. Todah for Prince Malakee. Todah for Ahmad man of valor. Todah for all those that came and participated for Hadassah. Hallelujah. Your mighty hand, oh Yah, is throughout this world. You are the King of this universe. And we appreciate that you have allowed us to hear the words. Oh Yah, please, oh Yah, keep all of us in your hands, guiding us, protecting us, instructing us. For we need you, for by you and by your will, all things are possible, as we just seen and witnessed here today. We go forth from this meeting inspired. May we go forth from this meeting rededicated, oh Yah, unto you and unto each other. For together there is great power and might, as you continue to give us the strength, as you continue to give us the knowledge, give us the wisdom and understanding that we may act and move as you should have us to be. This great nation, oh Yah, as we go out our ways, as we go to our homes, may the blessings come to us in our homes, oh Yah, and extend it out to our children, oh Yah, as we continue to move forward, oh Yah, in thy word, whatever you should have us to be, we submit unto you for all things and everything. As we come in peace, we go in peace, blessing you with all our heart, soul, and mind. Keep our families in your hands, oh Yah, as we gather yet in the distant future, blessing all things, food, clothing, and shelter, but above all, your presence. Ele hadevarim bashem kwatshecha, in your great, your high and exalted name. We say hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Shavua Tov Lakam.
Gotcha.
Hallelujah. To the next time. Y'all be blessed.
Next time.
Excellent presentation. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov. If you have not put your information in the chat, please do. We're still collecting that information. Toda Rabbi, everybody be safe, stay protected, and be blessed.
Excellent. Hallelujah.
And I also want to say, if it wasn't said,
Hallelujah.
Prince El Ram is in Ghana as well. So we're dealing with two different parts of the continent. And so that support force from all over the continent is going to get stronger and stronger.
Wow. International. Hallelujah.
Hello. Shavua Tov.